Now, this goes without saying, but I will not be sharing any of the leaked materials, linking to them in any way, shape, or form. And to call the situation a leak is an understatement. What has occurred here with Insomniac is nothing short of a crime. It's a ransomware group who hacked and stole data and information that then they decided to use to try to engage in ransom and to try to blackmail Insomniac. And when Insomniac and PlayStation as a whole didn't give in, they decided to release this information. And this is definitely among the worst hacks, among the worst situations of this nature we have seen. So it all began on December 12, 2023, when news outlet Cyber Daily reported that Spider-Man 2 developer Insomniac Games has been hit by a Resida ransomware attack. Ransomware operator Resida has posted limited data that appears to back up its claims that it has successfully hacked video game developer Insomniac Games. They basically released this collage of documents, of screenshots of, pre-release builds of Wolverine alongside essentially blurred out like passports and stuff like that, or blurred out ID of employees that suggests that they also have their personal information. So yeah, it was clear that this threat was legitimate and they were planning to use this to attain a certain amount of money. And Resida, by the way, has been known to engage in some pretty awful ransomware attacks. So for example, in this article by Axios, it's reported that Resida has become a prolific ransomware purveyor in recent months, targeting a wide array and variety of critical infrastructure organizations. In August, the gang claimed responsibility for an attack on Prospect Medical Holdings and leaked more than 500,000 social security numbers. And there's more details on their crimes in this article. Yeah, it's pretty serious stuff, the kinds of hacks and attacks have engaged in. In the case of Insomniac, they were hinting that they had a lot of files pertaining to the upcoming Wolverine game. They had character art pertaining to other Marvel characters, passport scans that appeared to belong to Insomniac employees. And the ransom basically was that they're going to have this up for 7 days as part of an auction. And the auction starts at roughly $2 million US or 50 Bitcoins. With just 7 days on the clock, seize the opportunity to bid on exclusive, unique, and impressive data. Resida advertised and concluded with, open your wallets and be ready to buy exclusive data. We sell only to one hand, no reselling. You will be the only owner. So basically it comes down to either somebody will buy this from us who has the money and who is interested in this data, or we're going to force Insomniac's hand and let them know about this auction so that Insomniac itself or PlayStation itself will pay the amount of money that we ask for so that this data doesn't get leaked. While all of this was unfolding, when reached out for comment, Sony Interactive Entertainment provided the following statement to IGN. We are aware of reports that Insomniac Games has been the victim of a cybersecurity attack. We're currently investigating the situation. We have no reason to believe that any other SIE or Sony divisions have been impacted. 1 week later, on December 19th, 2023, the ransomware group would make good on their promise, and after apparently nobody really bid on this data and Insomniac itself refused to pay the ransom that was demanded of them, the ransomware group leaked 1.3 million stolen files. We're talking about 1.67 terabytes worth of data that made it to the darknet. This has been reported far and wide now. Jason Schreier summarized the kind of information that was leaked as follows: emails, prototype footage, and employee personal details. Now, what is leaked, especially pertaining to Wolverine, is bad enough. We're not talking about just gameplay footage and screenshots and concept art. We're also talking about playable builds that people have already been able to engage with, and they're posting footage of that early build online that is woefully misrepresentative of how the final game will look like. Like, it might give you a basic idea of, gameplay elements, but it all looks real rough. And then there's stuff like plot details and character details, boss battle details, like maps that you'll get to visit. It basically just kind of spoils the entire game, barring some potential elements that may change throughout the course of development. So it's really stuff that's not worth looking into, especially if you want to, come into the game Wolverine fresh. But then even then, there might be malicious actors who will just go around spoiling it for people because they think that's funny to do, and so like a development studio could not be facing a worse situation than the kind of leak we're seeing right here. And then beyond that, internal plans and details about upcoming games and whatnot, like this is without question one of the, if not the worst leaks we've seen in gaming history. But what's especially egregious is when a leak like this that is so severe and so negatively impactful towards a beloved development studio also comes with the added layer of malice involving personal data being leaked. All this, by the way, is happening just a few days before the holidays, before Christmas. This is not just about some video game getting leaked. It's about the personal safety of people in the games industry who are often the target of internet psychopaths who take video games way too seriously and will target individual developers if something doesn't meet their own personal qualifications of how certain games should be. Developers are attacked viciously enough on the internet, but now when personal data and information gets out, it puts them in genuine, legitimate danger. And again, this is right before this time period where they're supposed to be resting and celebrating with family and friends. This is on top of how demoralizing it must be to see this project that they're pouring their hearts into be shown in a way that was never meant to be shown. Footage that is just stuff that isn't ready. A lot of it is clearly prototype, but people already like having discussions about all of this and making all these assumptions and taking all this stuff out of context. And it sucks to see. And Insomniac just, they don't deserve this. And no developer, frankly, deserves to be put in a situation like this. Like, we're not talking about a situation where a journalist is digging in for a story that might expose corruption or something like that. This is just a criminal group that is going out of their way to disrupt a development studio's project that they're very passionate about just for the sake of making money. And along the way, endangering real lives, real people. That's especially the part that's fucked up. And in recent months and years, it feels like the frequency of these kinds of leaks has just increased. Recall that not long ago, Suicide Squad experienced a leak as a result of data miners who dug into a closed alpha tech test that ran from November 30th through December 3rd and leaked a bunch of spoilers about the game's plot and narrative and potentially the fate of certain characters, as well as certain modes that haven't been announced yet. Rocksteady had to put out a statement expressing disappointment that details that were not meant to be shared were shared ahead of the game's release and asking people to avoid spoilers. And then prior to that, you may recall that Grand Theft Auto 6 had a massive leak that occurred where a bunch of prototype gameplay footage got leaked. This was a story reported back in 2022. On Sunday, September 18th, 2022, a massive and unprecedented leak hit one of the most anticipated games. This leak was bad enough that Rockstar itself had to put out a statement on September 19th, 2022, where they expressed disappointment that details of our next game was shared with you all in a way that was not appropriate or intended. And then, we saw the new GTA 6 trailer, and obviously the game looks gorgeous and it's very highly anticipated. So the reception was still really positive, but this situation still sucked for the developers, and they asked people to, to wait for official material. Now, at least in this situation, they actually managed to find the perpetrator. Apparently, it was a teenager who was responsible for all this, which is kind of insane. And also, in the case of Suicide Squad and Grand Theft Auto 6, I believe no personal data of employees and whatnot was leaked. In contrast to what happened to CD Projekt Red back in 2021 when they received the following ransom, where it was stated right here in a notepad, you have been pwned. We have dumped full copies of the source codes from your Perf4 server for Cyberpunk 2077, Witcher 3, Gwent, and the unreleased version of Witcher 3. We've also dumped documents relating to accounting, administration, legal, HR, investor relations, and more. And basically said, be in contact with us. You have 48 hours to respond and to pay us the ransom that we're asking for. A few months later, on June of 2021, CD Projekt put out the following statement warning everyone that we believe all this data that was stolen from us is now circulating the internet. We believe it may include current and former employee and contractor details in addition to data related to our games. Prior to that, Capcom experienced a massive hack and leak back in 2020 when they put out the following statement where they said that unauthorized access has been detected. And as a part of that situation, a bunch of unannounced games leaked, including Street Fighter 6, Dragon's Dogma 2, upcoming Resident Evil games, and more. But most important of all, a bunch of personal information leaked in an update that Capcom provided on January 12, 2021. They updated the number of people confirmed to have had personal details stolen to 16,415 people. While we didn't see entire builds of games leak or anything like that, we're still talking about tens of thousands of people's worth of personal data that got made public. And, that's people who were endangered. The one positive development that came out of this is that on October of 2023, it was reported that Ragnar Locker, the ransomware group behind the Capcom hack, was taken down by international police, so at least there's that. But the ransomware group that specifically attacked Insomniac, Resita, they're still out there, still causing havoc. And in the case of Insomniac, I mean, this is a game development studio that is very beloved, who have consistently released high-quality titles, have been consistently consumer-friendly, and have just, been very passionately developing some of their upcoming projects, including Wolverine. And to see them attacked like this, and frankly, to see any company or development studio who are engaging in such an arduous creative endeavor just have to go through stuff like this. Like, it just sucks, man, and I cannot imagine being in that position where you have to, deal with the fallout of something so massive when it comes to, infringing on not only your, project, but also literally personal information. All of this has also brought up the discussion of, what kind of coverage is ethical coverage when it comes to a situation like this, where a crime has taken place and these leaks are a result of these malicious actors. And while obviously reporting on the fact that the hack and the leak took place is one thing, when articles start, linking directly to the leaked materials and start essentially spoiling it for people, showing gameplay footage that, is prototypical, and start sharing data about future plans that were not meant to be announced at this stage, there's discussions about, how much of that should be detailed in coverage, and at what point is that necessary coverage versus coverage that you're just putting out there for the sake of, getting clicks and whatever. And so that's definitely a discussion that's been taking place online with numerous games industry pundits and journalists and content creators kind of chiming in on that front, and developers also expressing their frustrations on just the level of coverage that stuff like this has been getting, and insisting that certain information in these leaks, especially stuff that's been maliciously obtained, should not be amplified by media outlets with millions of viewers and stuff like that, especially when we're talking about a situation that puts real people at risk because of the fact that personal data was leaked. And look, at the end of the day, every outlet will approach coverage of this leak their own way. I, for one, will not be spoiling anything to people. I don't think, there's any necessity to do that, to put, footage or information out there about things that are, nowhere near final. This game's still, years away. And I also just don't feel like, it doesn't feel right for me to kind of ruin developers' efforts by amplifying information that was obtained in such a criminal and shady way, and by amplifying stuff that straight up is just not even final, and some people just probably don't even want to know about, because they want to go into Insomniac's upcoming games just completely fresh and without spoilers, and they want to be surprised, and I don't want to ruin it for the audience either. I don't want to ruin it for anyone. So this is the extent of my coverage of this. But yeah, man, the nature of this leak is quite severe. Again, to the point where people have playable builds in their hands. That is next level stuff. We're not just talking about GTA 6 leaked footage of prototype. We're talking about playable prototypes that people can gain access to. I really feel for the folks at Insomniac, especially with the timing of it being during the holidays, and hopefully they can keep their chin up and keep making the game, and no doubt when they finally get to show off Wolverine and other games properly, we'll be blown away and impressed. And Insomniac's just done consistently good work, and I trust that they'll continue to do so. Hopefully they won't be too demoralized by this, and will continue to do what they do best, and continue bringing joy and smiles to people who are fortunate enough to be able to experience their passionately developed interactive experiences. I look forward to all of their future games. So that's kind of where I'm going to leave it off at. But let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on this whole situation, and the general discussion surrounding, how stuff like this should be covered by news outlets, and at what point do we have to draw certain lines. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.